I play a lot of roguelike games, but usually those roguelike games are focused on taking out enemies or having some kind of focus on combat. So when I discovered Froggy Hates Snow as an explorative roguelike game, I got excited. It feels like a breath of fresh air in the roguelike genre. So when we were offered a key to the game for the chance to play it, I didn't hesitate for a moment to grab that opportunity. Sure, there are roguelike games where you use platforming to try and get to the end of the level or as far into the game as possible, but Froggy Hates Snow puts you in a single map with the goal to explore and clear out that map, and find a doorway that you can use to escape the snowy hell that this poor frog has been subjected to. You start off in a bubble of warmth, and you have to dig your way through the snow that surrounds you to find resources. Resources that you can use to upgrade yourself in categories like digging, warmth recovery, and backpack size. And yes, even combat skills, but I'll touch on that in a little bit. You can then use those upgrade stats to dig further and faster to find more resources, and slowly do this to uncover everything in the first ring of the map. Then venture to the second and third rings of the map to find different crystals at different rarities to upgrade your stats further. It's not exactly a difficult gameplay loop, but it's just so satisfying to dig through the snow, and creating a path on the map that leads back to your camp in order to bring resources back to. But the entire time you're exploring, there's a countdown clock, and when that clock reaches 0, you become locked into a small area with enemies spawning that you have to fight. And there's quite a few different kinds of enemies, like these spinning tops that'll try and zoom into you, that you can dodge your way out of. Or these guys that are shaped like anvils and will hop around and try and smash you. And then there's these damn little flies that spit projectiles at you. So you'll need to focus in order to dodge and attack the enemies. Or if you're lazy, there's an auto attack mode, which to me doesn't make much sense, where you can just stand in one spot and attack the enemies automatically. Which would make sense if they were going for a more casual gameplay loop, but there's already a game mode for each map where you can play without enemies and just explore. So having an auto attack for the combat doesn't make much sense to me unless you want the combat to be there, but you don't want the challenge of the combat being there. Which, the combat in Froggy Hates Snow isn't exactly anything spectacular. Froggy doesn't exactly move very fast. And if you didn't upgrade your dodge, you move so slow that the game seems to punish you for daring to put your points into explorative skills. And if you didn't upgrade your attack before the battle, you better be ready to be in for the long haul, as you'll need to be able to dodge enemy attacks for longer in order to get some extra hits in before they're defeated. With most of the time I died from combat, I felt it was more because Froggy moves so slow, and the angle of the camera makes it sometimes hard to tell where projectiles are in order to dodge them, making the combat in these waves feel clunky and more of an afterthought add to the game to make it more difficult, rather than an intended part of the gameplay from the start. But once you defeat the enemies, you'll be rewarded with a free upgrade. They can also end up giving you some extra items to take on the rest of your quests. My personal favorite of these being the shovel that lets you dig faster. It almost seems like a requirement if you want to explore the map in time, and it somehow makes digging through the snow even more satisfying. And as you keep digging and getting further into the rings of the map, you'll find keys, and then some boxes that you can open with said keys, with these boxes containing special blue crystals that you can use to buy power-ups and additional levels and skills for your frog in future runs. And you can even find artifacts as well, which again you can bring into future runs, with the overall goal being to find the hidden door on the map. And by using 5 keys you can open it and escape the cold. However, there is another way to finish the level, and that's surviving the boss battle after 10 waves of enemies, with the bosses incorporating abilities and skills that were present in the enemies that you faced on that map, with the boss battles going a lot like the waves that you have come across before. A lot of the problems that I mentioned with the combat before do still exist, such as a camera angle not being your friend, but the boss battles do feel a bit more satisfying to dodge and attack your way through, learning the different patterns for the bosses in order to evade attacks and time your attacks when you can, making the boss battles a little bit more exciting than the normal enemies you would come across on the map. Then once you've beat the boss, you've completed the map, you can move on to the next one. Or if you die before you can reach the exit door or can't beat the final boss, you'll only be able to take back some of the blue crystals and artifacts you found on the run in order to try that map again, with the blue crystals having a variety of uses, like buying additional item upgrades that you can find on your next run, or purchasing level ups for your frog in order to get additional stat boosts, or unlock additional frogs you can play as with different stats and starting abilities, and then jump into the stage again or into a new stage if you have the next one unlocked. And here is where the game gets a little bit repetitive. See, in order to unlock additional levels, you need to be able to finish all the tasks on the previous level, which in most cases includes defeating the end boss. So if you want to get to play the next level, finding the exit door really isn't an option that you can take on your first run of the level. Then as you progress even more, future levels require you to finish the previous map more than once using different characters. meaning you'll be playing the same level multiple times in order to get to see new maps with new enemies and new boss fights. And to me, this made the game get kind of boring, as I would have to complete the same map I just finished again, just with a different frog. This got boring to me to the point that I just started stacking artifacts like the penguin and then hoping to get the mole as quickly as possible to clear the map for me, as the mole will dig around the map finding resources, keys, treasures, and the door for you. And penguins will gather the resources you find to bring back to the home base for you, making it so once you have these two, you can kind of just sit in the bubble where the timer stops and just wait for the mole to finally find the exit door. Then go around the map collecting the keys it found for you and leave the stage. This way I could play the game further with a new map. I don't mind games that have a gameplay loop with some repetition, and I actually found clearing each map of snow to be satisfying. And having to manage your upgrades to get further into the stage while keeping an eye on your warmth gives it a bit of a challenge to the game. But having to do the same levels twice just with a different character to progress to the next one would get frustrating, especially when a wrong move would lead to my death fighting enemies. When I was only playing that map again to finish it with another character so I can move on, and the gameplay would just kind of stop being fun for me there. There's a lot I like about Froggy Hates Snow that kept me coming back to this game for a little bit more the past couple days. But the game for me was best played in smaller game sessions with a break between runs on the map. It was strange to me playing a roguelike where when I died, my immediate reaction isn't, okay, one more try, I think I got it this time. Instead, I didn't feel excited to start again. Instead, I would just close out the game and then come back to it later for another try. There's just something so satisfying about the exploration in this game, clearing out the snow, and then gathering the crystals to bring back to your camp to upgrade yourself to be able to dig faster and further than before. I did, however, find myself getting rather used to the penguin artifact, which would start you off with a single penguin, which would then slowly bring the crystals I found back to the camp so I could just keep clearing out the snow on the level. Only required me to find a camp to regain some warmth, which would be extra funny watching an army of penguins running around the map on the paths that I created, grabbing crystals I had uncovered. Overall though, I would say I had fun playing Froggy Hates Snow. My only true gripes with the game come in the form of its combat, which wasn't fun for me with the normal waves. I found the boss fights to be marginally better, but still not exactly a good standing point in the game. And the repetitive gameplay loop of having to play the same maps multiple times in order to unlock new ones. But at least with that last one, the devs have updated the game to make it so the first couple maps only need to be played once. So they are trying to improve it. But in my opinion, they need to change it to cover the entire game instead of just the first couple maps. That gameplay loop might extend the game's length, but it does make the game get boring a lot faster as a result. It makes it a lot less exciting to know that when you finally manage to successfully complete a map, you still have to do it again before you can actually progress in the game. But with all that said, those are my thoughts on Froggy Hates Snow. And you can check out the game for yourself by following the links in the description. And be sure to let us know in the comments below if you played Froggy Hates Snow and what your thoughts are on it. Or if you intend to check it out. If you like this review and want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Then check out some of our other reviews here on Bickering Nerds. If you have suggestions for other games you think we should play, let us know in the comments. Until next time, this is Brad with the Bickering Nerds.